Just a slight tangent on that.
This is far too much of a tangent. Just a brief interruption.
Can I also say one more thing on this?
But we also need to impose some rules. Like, we can't just have 20-minute tangents over a text.
Come on. That's just refusal to consider the circumstances. We're not going to entertain that, Joe.
This conversation is not a good one, I think. Do we argue much?
No, we keep them inside.
Let it fester.
See, I thought this was a ridiculous text until I read the top three, and then I thought, you know what? I'd actually debate that with you. It is an interesting... Sorry, it's not an interesting question, but...
Let's make that clear.
I love the sound of a snooker referee counting up the score.
My God, we're back. We're back, everybody. A Slight Tangent is coming at you. It is a triumphant return, and I'm very happy to say my amigos are alongside me. To my right, I have Will O'Callaghan. Will, you're very welcome back to A Slight Tangent. Hello.
Yep, glad to be here, Joe.
We have Michael McCarthy, who was away on holidays. In part, that's the reason there was no...
Sorry, everyone. Sorry, I won't go anymore.
In recent weeks, work-life balance overrated. Slight Tangent...
Underrated.
Good start. Yes, and Arthur O'D. Arthur.
Here all along.
We've dragged you back in again. So if you're wondering what this slot is, the PM, FM, OTB team convene. We settle the rights and wrongs of the world. And
initially just it's your letters at this stage, isn't it?
I was just going to say, initially this slot started with us needing to fill some time when there was a lack of football on. It was one of the quieter periods. And now the number of emails, I know this is a thing that people say in the media, and it generally means the opposite, but the number of emails and messages is insane. So thank you so much, a slight tangent at offtheball.com, for all the many emails. We're not going to get to as many of them as we really should. A lot of very good ones in there, but very sincerely thank you, because lots of you saying very nice things about the slot as well.
You don't put your hand up.
No, I just want to make a point of order, if that's okay. For people who don't get their email read out but they think it's worth it, feel free to send it again, possibly abbreviated or whatever, just because the chances of us remembering the following week to go back and search the old emails, it is a time issue most weeks.
There's zero. If you haven't made the cut, consider your email gone.
No, yeah, but don't consider it unchosen.
It's a bit
Give it
unchosen.
another chance.
Give it, okay, but I would agree with your abbreviation.
If it doesn't get in 2 weeks in a row,
yeah,
maybe change the subject.
Read the room. Though you kept saying that you liked the long emails, the long form.
I've changed my mind, Joe.
I told you. I told you.
Oh, when we start getting millions of them,
yeah,
I don't have time to read them.
Rod for our backs, that. Keep it, concise, to the point.
It's partly our own fault, because obviously we were away from this slot for a few weeks. The next thing, it backed up.
A lot of excess information. I mean, we're getting live stories here. Will I proceed?
Yeah. Thanks for ensuring there will be no emails for next week. But
listener,
I hate your emails.
I like your emails. I want your emails, but I don't want to read them.
No, it's just brevity will increase the chances of one being read out and two
us reading
read. Okay, let's jump in. No particular order here. How are the lads? Big fan of the show. The question I am putting forward is, can grown men wear jerseys? As a kid, like most of us, I loved trying to emulate my sporting heroes by wearing my favourite team's jerseys. As I got a bit older, I started wearing some more obscure jerseys. I spent hours on eBay searching for some vintage Vauxhall Conference shirts. Searching for these jerseys became a real passion of mine. But increasingly, I seem to be getting more of a kick out of defining the jersey than wearing them. And as a 32-year-old man, I think I may be too old to be wearing my Parma Cannavaro shirt, dropping my son to the childminders. I have some code of ethics when it comes to wearing jerseys. You would obviously never see me in a shirt of a player who is younger than me or that of a rival team. But I am now at the stage of asking myself, is it time to swap the 1998 Adidas Kerry jersey in for a team polo when we're playing in Croke Park this summer? Please God. Thanks, lads, and keep up the good work. John from Killarney. Is John at 32 just a little bit old to be walking around bringing his children to the childminders?
I think John has managed to yera us within his email as well by saying, hopefully we get to Croke Park so I get a chance to wear my jersey.
Yeah.
Is this just a natural Kerry thing to do, to play yourself down, even when it comes to attending sport?
Are you wearing a jersey, Will, as a man in your 30s these days?
Far less likely, I think, at this stage.
Yeah.
I still have a few, but I haven't actually bought one in a long, long time.
My days are done. My jersey days are done, I have to say. They've been done for about a decade.
Except for when you go to the gym with your Connacht jersey.
Yeah.
Surely going to the gym or playing fives or something like that is different.
Sorry, playing fives, yeah. I'm talking about in my civvies.
Yeah.
Fives? When did that become a thing? Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's a tangent that we won't go down.
What about you?
Again, I just find I don't have a strong opinion that it shouldn't be done, and I think if I had a cool Cannavaro Parma jersey, I would have no problem going to the childminders in it. It's nice clothes. I do find that I just naturally wear jerseys less and less, to the point of basically I don't wear them at all anymore. I got a Villa jersey, Villa retro jersey, I think 2 birthdays in a row. Sorry, I know that Arthur and Joe don't like us getting birthday presents. They think it's for children. This is the people that I have to put up with every day, listener. They don't like birthdays. No, but I just find that they're in the closet more and more.
Yeah,
But
it's my birthday on Sunday, by the way.
Coming?
No, just come.
Oh, sorry, Joe.
That's all right.
Happy
fine.
belated birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
Did you get anything nice?
Got a jersey?
I got a Fitbit.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
good.
Even though you don't believe in
mine's
presents.
charging. That'll happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't stick a jersey on now at all. I'd say mid-20s. I would.
Is there anything wrong with it though? I
No,
suppose. I think you naturally
think
stop
so.
doing it. You just naturally stop wearing.
I think for the most part they're quite ugly though.
Yeah, well, that's from a fashion point. I just think it's a bad look.
I saw a fellow walking through town on the way in yesterday. I suspect he wasn't. I don't think he was from here. It was probably just he was in a group. So kind of the group. They didn't seem familiar with the surroundings. So I'm guessing it around. It was kind of around Dublin Castle. So you're probably it's one of the sites. Whatever.
Kerry, I'd say. Yeah.
And he was wearing. He was wearing a Man United jersey from '99. You know the white one.
Yeah.
From 1999 with Keane 16 on the back.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, that's a very conscious choice. You've thought about that, and you thought, I'm going to be walking around Ireland. I'm going to wear this Roy Keane jersey.
You don't like that?
I don't like it. I don't think it'll look good.
I think it's interesting that at 32 he's so whatever about day to day, Monday to Friday. I think it's interesting he's feeling at 32. I don't know if I'd be wearing a Kerry jersey to Croke Park anymore. I don't think again, there's no judgment either way, but I especially wouldn't judge someone wearing a jersey to a match.
Yeah, the one he's picked out as well is the ultimate Kerry jersey to wear. It's the one everyone wants to pick up, which is that late 90s one season Adidas jersey. So it's not like you're wearing a bad Kerry jersey.
Croke Park would be a dour place if everyone says, well, I need to wear my polo shirt.
It'd be very great place.
The thing about that is now, and I disagree on the Kerry thing, but say if you're going to Clare matches, like I think the Clare kit is a very nice kit. I think it looks brilliant on a pitch, right? I don't think as an adult the bright yellow jersey looks particularly good with a pair of jeans. And and you do get to that point where it's like, I have a very nice like navy t-shirt here that has the Encore symbol, and it has the blue and yellow strips, but ultimately I can wear it all night and not feel like
I'd be going for that.
I'm illuminous.
Yeah. We'll push on. Look, each to their own is ultimately the only conclusion we can reach. Hi, Joe and Co. Just listening to the most recent episode of A Slight Tangent. Arthur spoke about not wanting to criticise a play as it's something that an individual created. Surely there is an argument that every sporting performance is something that has been created and it's an expression of the athlete's personality. As Yates said, how can we know the dancer from the dance? Love the show, Connor and Artane. I mean, I feel a great queasiness about criticising sports people, I have to say. Like, I've asked far too many questions in the last 48 hours about Ross Byrne that I'm happy to have asked, but, it's the job, so you get on with it. But is there not a parallel with criticising a play and a sports person?
No.
Art? No?
No, it's not art.
Huh.
It's a very direct. If you take the thing from criticising personnel, it's always, and if you take Ross Byrne, it's retrospective to the point of whatever the result was. If he knocked over a drop goal from 70 at the 78 or 9th minute, everything before then, you wouldn't be criticising him whatsoever. It would all be kind of laudatory and it'd be fantastic and sections there and everything else. So it's kind of all set against whatever happens in a match, in a contest.
To be fair, it's just scoreboard journalism you're accusing me of. I would if he had stunk the joint out.
No, but I'm saying if he... so what were you criticising him for? Is that if the difference is only the fact of how he handled that very last play?
I think general play, a bit of criticism there as well. It was a tough day at the office for him.
All right, well, look, I'm not saying you shouldn't criticise him. I'm just saying that's what the point is, that it's like it's because it's a contest and you're against someone else. It's not free expression. You're not doing what you want.
What about a golfer against the course and himself?
Golf, there is more room for it, but I think it is. I genuinely do think it is silly to criticise a golfer, because I was you're watching that the last day. There's one point where John Rahm is 6 over, and the leaders are 6 under. It's like John Rahm's not 10 shots worse than that golfer.
Yeah, he's a disgrace.
There's nothing he can do.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know.
There's nothing you can do if you write a bad play. Maybe just...
no, but that's why I wouldn't criticise someone for writing a play.
Oh, sorry, you wouldn't. Okay.
I wouldn't do that.
But you would a sports person.
I will for sports person.
Yeah, I think if you're putting yourself out there in the public sphere, I think you should be criticised in a proper way, as in... you know, I think say for example an arts critic, I think it's important to tell, you know, that's the job of the arts critic, is to tell people whether this play is worth going to see or not, worth parting your money with. You know, I don't see it's still a performance. I mean, if there's bad acting in the play, can you criticise that?
Well, you can do anything like that. But I think my point was that I wouldn't want to do it. I have no interest in doing that because I just feel it's a harsh thing to do.
But you don't
But
feel
is it
as
not
bad
harsh to say that someone's a disgrace for missing a penalty or
But I
for?
wouldn't say that.
Okay, yeah. What would you say? What would be your level of criticism of a sports person?
He'll be disappointed with that.
If it,
They didn't have any hunger.
like I don't know.
They were hungrier.
I don't know.
What's the meanest thing you've said about a sports person, do you think, in recent times?
God, I don't know because I don't. I'll think about that and come back. I need to remember what I'm going to watch.
Would you call someone a disgrace?
Probably not for anything they've done in a sporting sense.
What about a fraud?
A fraud.
Yeah, well, there's a complete lack of effort.
What about a bottler?
There are a few. Yeah, definitely. I said the last few times I felt like that was watching Harry Maguire. There are times I'm watching Harry Maguire and I'm thinking, my God, you shouldn't be there.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's remarkable. It's one of the greatest. It's God Almighty.
Yeah. See, he's too big to fail almost. He's not going to hear you saying it, so it's easier. Would you say he shouldn't be there about
An Irish
Sligo centre forward?
On this platform, no, I probably wouldn't. There'd be no benefit to that.
Yeah. So you're just a fundamentally nice person.
You'd just be being an arsehole doing that. Imagine doing that to someone.
Yeah.
They'll hear that.
Yeah.
I have a bigger platform than they do, and I have no platform at all. But God Almighty.
Yeah, but then you're not doing your job as a.
Well, I'm not.
So are the standards relative on this one, Joe? Whereby, say if someone stands up and takes a Panenka in a World Cup final and misses, they're going to be mocked.
Yeah.
Well, if it happens at a lower level, we're unlikely to have the same level of criticism.
I think so.
So, is Arthur's point wrong then? Or do you think he's being disingenuous by not being critical when maybe he feels critical of a player?
Sorry, I'm of the opinion if you're doing this job, your loyalty is and your onus is to the listener who are like giving us their attention. So I feel, well, here I am, we've got to talk about the game, let's talk about the game and let's do so honestly. But equally, where I don't agree with Arthur is that if I was talking about a play in a professional capacity, that I just couldn't criticise it. I'd go to town on those guys as well.
That's
known for a ruthless streak, Joe Molloy. No, that's 100% where I would feel. I don't feel qualified to comment on a play now. And some would say, and suppose myself, that I'm not qualified to comment on sport either. But it is where I've ended up. So I'll give it a go. And look, sometimes that's critical, and it's not great. But you try and do it respectfully and in a qualified manner.
Sometimes,
you know. You try to. I said, I don't always succeed. Sometimes and there is the one bit of difference I would say, and maybe this comes from a bias, but I do feel like the kind of like passion and sort of letting it all get away from you a little bit is a little bit more a part of sport than a kind of I think you do have a little bit more of a considered view of the arts.
Yeah, I hear you.
Say, whereas like I think in some ways like being almost angry at Leinster a little bit at the weekend as to how, and nothing to do with Rossburn, as an overall sense of like their tactics and how they managed the second half in particular. Like that's faded now, and I can talk to you a little bit more reasonably. But on Sunday, if we were having this conversation, I think I would have been quite critical of them.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
that comes from caring about the outcome.
Yes, yeah. Next email, we're going to breeze through a few, keep the pace up. Jimmy Cook has emailed in. Hello, gentlemen. A long-time fan of OTB based in Chicago. What is the view in Ireland of American sports media coverage?
Joe got very excited about Chicago.
I do find it exciting. I bumped into somebody who tells me that he listens every day over in Spain, and I find it immensely. It's like, wow,
That is crazy.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
That's more rewarding than if they're from Galway. If they're from
I don't think the Jane Laura's picked you up, mate. Do you want to
give a ring?
What is the view in Ireland of American sports media coverage? I'm 48, mad for sport, and I've lived most of my life in the States. However, I reached the point years ago where I simply could not tolerate the loud, vapid coverage that has become commonplace in the US market. The list of perpetrators is long, but here are a few. I would just say at this point, I don't know all of these people. I know some of them. So he names Stephen A. Smith, who I do know. Skip Bayless. I don't feel like I know Skip, but I know the guy who screams, Skip! Skip! Shannon Sharp, don't know.
Shannon Sharp's the guy who shouts Skip.
Skip! I like that.
He's great. Skip Bayless is a clown.
Virtually every NFL announcer and analyst, Gus Johnson and Kevin Harlan. I see that trend has spread to the UK and France as well. And he puts in brackets, talk sport, keep. A penny for your thoughts on the matter. Keep up the fine work, says Jimmy Cook. Well, look, I have to say, anytime I seem to tune into those American talk shows, I do find them deplorable. Nobody's behaving like a normal person. Everybody's far too certain of their own opinion. A lot of the stuff being said is really rehearsed.
Yeah.
Like, I feel, you know, the way on like American late night talk shows, there's a sense behind the scenes. It's short, sharp. You have your bit prepared. I tee you up, you deliver it. Boom. That's how they have traditionally worked. Whereas the Late Show, as a, you know, or a Parkinson, it's more natural and real and free form, while still having a degree of preparation, I'm sure. But I feel like it's that equivalent in sports, where they go on with their pre-rehearsed bit. They often do it to camera now.
Yep.
Like, I do, like, it's dreadful. Now, occasionally I do watch Stephen A. Smith and think, he's a bloody impressive communicator. There's no doubt.
Yes.
Like, really impressive. I can't always judge the extent to which his opinions are good or not, because I'm not an expert in the sports. But like, as a product, when I'm watching it, like, in the main, I would tend to agree with Jimmy Cook. I think what we have over here is way better. What they have over there is far too produced and self-conscious and fake. That's my tuppence worth. I don't watch it all the time. Like I said, it's when I drop in and out, I think, what is this weird world?
I like some elements of it, Joe, and I don't like some. Exactly what you described, which is the ESPN monologue, which goes directly down the camera, where I think they're incredibly aware at this stage that a lot of these discussions are going to get clipped, and the best way to go viral is to give the hottest take you possibly can, and give that hot take in the firmest way you possibly can.
And in a clip form.
Yeah, oh, very much so. I think it's a 20-30 second monologue which you give down the camera, and therefore you know that that's going to be your discussion on why the Lakers are struggling or whatever else. And obviously you go in really hard. Or someone like Colin Cowherd, who again will do like a long monologue but directly to camera, and will have a go at a team, probably I would say consciously going over the top, because you know that it's going to stand out in a market where there's so much sports media in the USA.
Yeah.
But then, like, I kind of enjoy some of it. I do enjoy the panel discussions sometimes where they get ridiculously heated, and probably Stephen A. Smith is usually involved in most of them, in a load of sports as well. And I can enjoy the fact that they actually really passionately have a back and forth, and, you know, don't hold back, because the worst thing it could be is bland and boring when it comes to pundits. And I think it has found its way over here, because I think people realise how much it connects and how much people actually want to watch that format. Like, TalkSport wouldn't be doing this if TalkSport weren't getting viewers and listeners.
I think there's the word I think the emailer used was vapid, was it? Like, it's like, that's exactly how I feel it. It's like, what is the virtue of it? What am I getting out of Stephen A. Smith's anger about the Lakers? You know, or LeBron, and it's like, I'm going to try and start a feud with LeBron which will get national coverage and go viral. And it's like, grand, it might be even entertaining to watch, but what am I getting out of it in terms of sports coverage? Like, you know, where is the real sports conversation? Now, I'm sure it exists and it's there, and like, I mean, if you listen to, like, you know, the Ringer will have 50 podcasts on it that will go into the most minute detail, but that won't be the.
I listen to them,
but it's not the TV. But that's the thing; it's not the TV. So it's like, if you turn on, what are you getting? So whatever, forget about Twitter or whatever. You're always going to find your interests online, wherever it might be, long form or short form. But if you're just turning on ESPN, they'll have Stephen A. Smith's, like, First Take, I think it's called. But there's basically 2 shows before it and 2 shows after it that are the same thing. Just different talking heads, and they're all the same format, and they're just like, whatever. They're just rapid fire talking nonsense about nothing.
When I first started seeing it, I thought, my God, this is so compelling. And then you realise, oh, they're angry every day. And then it just becomes so transparently pointless.
It's a genius format in a way, though, because you take a clip of what someone has said in the previous show, you play it to someone else who then argues against it, and that creates another clip. And in a way, you can create a cycle year round. And in the States particularly, because they go from one sport to another as the seasons kind of overlap each other, you can be annoyed about hockey today and be annoyed about American football when it comes back in a month's time. It's kind of never ending.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. It's so gripping.
It is fascinating.
The amount of time I've spent watching, like, aimless debates about LeBron or Jordan. It's like, I never even really watched either of them much, but it's like, it's just, no way. It's like, I'm in. I love it.
Yeah, okay.
I just feel like that's a good hour-long discussion. Maybe it's just a different. Maybe everyone has different preferences as to what they want in their sports coverage.
People would love if you got in here and talked for half an hour about like Henry Sheffner, TJ Reid.
Yeah, but for a half an hour, as opposed to I'm talking about 20-second shouting sound bites that are prepared. There's no. That's what I'm trying to say to you. Entertaining as it is, there's nothing. You're not getting anything from it.
I don't mind the back and forth. Actually, I'd be up for watching the debate. And when they get heated enough for that. Yeah. But it's the down the camera pre-prepared stuff, as in,
I don't see them so much.
Here's my pitch to go viral, and here's my pre-prepared answer. I find that just.
And
like,
Skip Bayless will do that a lot, particularly if the Cowboys lose.
Does it matter if it is performative for the sake of being performative, but is also like so? You know, we can say, you mentioned this earlier, Arthur, but like is you know, when we liked our panels the best here, not just in football but in all the sports really, they were a lot of arguments
to each other. Yeah. Do you think Irish people can pull off that brand of down the camera?
The right person could.
That's how you give it a good go.
Name 3.
That's how you give it a rattle.
Oh no, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror afterwards.
If you were getting appreciable,
not you, but the other news talk presenters do it.
You were getting paid the appreciable amount. I'd say there's definitely a fee. Don't tell me there's not a fee.
Stephen A is one of the most, like, I mean, his recent contract, I don't have the numbers even in my head, but like it was astronomical.
Your man just
insane.
Went there. Your man Pat McAfee just went there, and it's 7 figures. Seven or eight figures. 7 or 8. I'm thinking tens of millions.
Wouldn't get out of bed for 7 figures.
Anyway. Yeah,
it better be 8 figures. But I mean, so okay, whatever about like a broadcaster, and I guess Stephen A. Smith is that as opposed to former player. But what like pundits could do it across any sport? Like Bernard Jackman's not going to do it.
No.
Bernard Jackman's great, by the way.
But Bernard Jackman's inserts in the Champions Cup final, I thought on Saturday were brilliant
because he's not trying to go viral. Like it's real.
Exactly. What am I getting from that? I'm getting exactly what I should be getting from analysis.
So give me one who's going to give me 2 minutes. You know,
Eddie O'Sullivan will give it a rattle.
No, he couldn't do it though.
He'd give it a rattle.
Pete Dunphy would have done it.
Pete Dunphy he could do anything. So but he's better rowing.
Exactly. Yeah. Is he not much better shouting in Graham Souness's face than he is doing a pre-prepared thing for the camera?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you listen.
Now,
like, I mean,
that said, his pre-prepared one on Terry Venables is maybe the best thing I've ever
But
seen.
again, he's speaking to someone. Yeah,
he is,
but I mean, that was
the first time he'd said those words.
By the way,
it was
again, I've mentioned this in the show once a month, but if anybody hasn't seen that, it's not as famous as some of the other ones, but it is the best Dunphy there is. It's 2 parts on YouTube. Enjoy the next 17 minutes of your life after 10 o'clock tonight, obviously.
And it was journalism as well. It had a backbone, whereas I feel like what I'm getting from the American guys is fast food.
Yeah. Do you think, honestly, like Stephen A. Smith's going to open up the A4 piece of paper and put on the reading glasses?
I think he does his work, though, by all accounts. Like, I do think there's a degree of work behind it.
I'm sure.
I think there's a huge amount,
I remember in our house, like, when Dunphy put on the glasses...
celebrations, like there was a goal scored.
Somebody did say shush. It was like the weather had come on.
Stephen A. Smith, by the way, just one of those funny things of like always having the hot take and always being angry, went on a big rant at the weekend. I mentioned the Lomachenko fight, and you know there's a lot of controversy about it, but what Stephen A. Smith was this is a disgrace. That was a close fight that could have went either way. The scoring was terrible, and the scoring was like 2 points between him on 2 of the cards, and like I remember like Lou DeBella and a few others were like, Stephen, you just said it was a close fight that could have went either way, and this is an awful scandal. This is the tightest the scoring could be with a winner with the way it goes. And this is like, again, it is that sort of like, there was controversy around it because some people thought that Lomachenko won easily and was beaten, but because he was like, I have to be part of this controversy, so I'm going to call it a disgrace, but prove the point that it wasn't.
The great thing if you go that strong as well, you can always roll back eventually, because I remember Stephen A. Smith saying that Tiger Woods should retire. No way Tiger Woods should hit another ball before he went out and won the Masters now, was it 4 years ago at this stage? And then when it happened, he kind of went, I'm delighted for him. Great that he won.
Yeah.
There was another great thing. I heard him talking about it, or someone was talking about this. Was a podcast about it that was very good, about like some of his techniques and how, like, you know, if because he'll inevitably back himself into a lot of corners where it's like hard to get out and someone presents a different fact, but he'll just now throw out, like, say outrageous like 6 times, and it's like the other person's like, what's going on? They're kind of frazzled, and you have time to think and start to back it up and bring it back
Flick
around.
that on to me, will you?
Yeah, I'll send that.
I've heard of like an hour-long conversation with him with Bill Simmons. He comes across very likeable and very reasonable.
I'd be all over that.
Yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to the clapping the hand stuff. Let's take a very short break. We'll be back in just 1 second.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now you're welcome back. This is A Slight Tangent. We have myself, Will, Mick and Arthur here in studio. We're going through your emails. A Slight Tangent at offtheball.com is the place to get us. So let's jump in. No particular order.
Your energy is quite low now, Joe.
Is it? Sorry.
Sorry. Break just sucked it out of you.
He wouldn't let us talk during the break because we used some of our best stuff.
Skip! A big fan of this segment, and I hope the rumours of A Slight Tangent and its demise have been greatly exaggerated. I was basically saying it had been cancelled when you were away. I think listeners really appreciate the off-the-cuff and honest conversations rather than the contrived... Oh my God, it's like...
The rest of the week.
Well, sorry, it's like he's just discussing what we were just discussing.
Topic, yeah.
Contrived material you see on other shows. I think this panel has legs to go on for a long time yet.
He doesn't realise that we have 3 dress rehearsals. We come in at 8 o'clock in the morning on tangent days.
I'm only joking when I say it's, you know, being cancelled. As I'm sure you're all aware, Joanne Cantwell took on Donal on the Sunday game brilliantly about his comments about the Tailteann Cup. He was very evasive and didn't properly answer the question in my view. However, he did say something I might agree with. Do the teams want to be in the Tailteann Cup? As someone who is from one of the so-called weaker counties, a description I despise, by the way, I think he's correct. I've edited some of this email, by the way, because it was lengthy. I see with pundits, prominent GA journalists and even fans, they have a patronising attitude to the teams in the Tailteann Cup. A phrase I keep hearing is, isn't it great to see them play teams at their own level? First of all, this is far from true. There are hammerings in the Tailteann Cup, and I'll be shocked if the winner this year doesn't come out of Cavan, Down or Meath. Zero in-depth analysis on any of the teams, players or matches, and it stinks of lazy journalism. He goes on to, in lengthyish terms, can see that there might only be so much time, but that there is a degree of isn't it lovely for them, and that's all we say about the Tailteann Cup. I know it can be difficult to cover everything given time constraints, but the GA media such as RTE and your good selves can do a bit better. I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts on this, and keep up the good work. If this email is one of the lucky ones to be read out, please leave out my name from the airwaves. I would greatly appreciate that. Says Declan. I won't give you a second name.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Immediately.
It's not McBennett.
Well, Jesus, sorry, I didn't think it was.
It's just Declan.
Okay, yeah.
I think he'll be okay unless you...
If I was suspicious as to who that was, like, that sounds like someone I know, and then it was like Declan. Oh, Declan.
Declan from one of the weaker counties. I'm starting to add it up.
Yeah. There can't be that many Declans out there.
What a weird exchange. Donal taken a bit by surprise and then needlessly defensive, I suppose. Like, if his core point was, which he sort of half alluded to in between, you misquoted me there. He wasn't misquoted. Joanne briefly misspoke, corrected herself immediately, quoted him perfectly, and to go down a route of, you misquoted me, was just odd. I think most people thought, and he didn't come across very well in the clip, I have to say. But if his core point, which he briefly explained, was, well, do they want to be there? It would have been fine. I think he could have easily said, look, I'm not trying out to offend anyone, but I was just getting at they don't want to be there. It is a second tier competition. Then I think there would have been a degree of that is fair enough, which is what the emailer Declan says. I think that is a fair enough thing to say. Nobody wants to be there as such. Yeah. But, that was lost a little bit in the frostiness of the exchange.
So the language of the last 2 seasons has always been that if a team ends up outside Division 2 at the end of the league, they drop into the Tailteann Cup. That has always been the language around it. I think for most teams who would aspire, they want to try and be in the All-Ireland Series and to try and win the Sam Maguire. So therefore there is a certain sense of also rans about the teams who are in the Tailteann Cup.
Was he just caught in the hop and therefore didn't think to just make that point? It was like a real...
Felt like he was caught in the hop.
We're here to talk about hurling.
Yeah. Still though, wouldn't you expect that he would have expected that question? given particularly that Colin O'Rourke had spoken on here and also after the Meath game the week before, it had definitely been discussed quite a bit in the week that had gone by. Like if I'm sitting down on a panel, I'm half expecting, even if it's just a glancing joke or whether it's going to be a talking point, it's going to come up. Would you really be surprised about it? Like it felt like he was doubling down and being unnecessarily aggressive and evasive in his answer, I found. Like this idea, you've misquoted me, but there was no real difference in the substantive point anyway.
It was a misspeak, not a misquote, and she corrected herself straight away.
But like, do you stand over the fact that you've said that the Tailteann Cup is like a Grand National for Ulster rants? Do you stand over that or not? Like, Donal could have said, I do. Like, no one wants to play there. Tiered competitions are required. And it kind of came from his point where he was trying to say about hurling. He could have said, you know what, the Joe McDonagh Cup, wouldn't it be great if it got as much coverage as the Tailteann Cup? And everything could have moved on. But he was evasive, and that continued that very spiky conversation where it felt like Dalo and Joe wanted to get out of the room.
Yeah, it was needless. It was completely needless because he was in a very clear position of power and authority there as well. Just even sitting there, you don't want to analyse these things too much, but he always looks quite at home in those positions. He's not afraid of anything coming at him. He's not afraid of that, and I think it was just oddly dealt with.
2019 semi-final, Joe, of the All-Ireland Championship, when they were there to talk about hurling, when he was talking about Wexford's style of play, he compared the sweeper to the black and tans and said it was a remnant of Britishness in these islands that teams were still setting up defensively. Donal Logue has no problem going with off stage or off the main road kind of comment when it comes to analysing sport as well. I went back to find the clip because I remember
I saw it and I remember every minute of it anyway.
Apparently it was part of the British psyche that we're unwilling to experiment with our games, that we reduce back to the fact that we go to
post-colonial hangover type.
He actually used post-colonial, I think, in there as well. It was an absolutely bonkers absurdism.
Do you know what though? They've been criticised for being bland in the Sunday papers a lot lately, so it was
that's
a bit
the thing, and I actually thought that was really weird that Joe Brawley was criticising Donal Logue last week when only the week before he was writing about the fact that the pundits have become too bland.
It was the most interesting clip we'll see in the Sunday game all year. But it kind of goes to what is it really? You know what I mean? It was awkward and strange, and you'd almost want that fire to be a little bit more like losing in an argument, like losing themselves in an argument about sport. That's kind of what we've been looking for. I don't know if I find frostiness between a presenter and a pundit quite uncomfortable, I have to say. I don't think it's like as much as people will watch it and it went viral and all. I don't feel it's necessarily in a good way. Whereas I think if Donal Logue and Daly or whatever, or even Joanne, are having a fight over like a red card or something like that, and they both feel passionate about something in that way, whereas this was a kind of a strange one, I thought.
There's a degree of you're trying to catch me out here and it got frosty.
I thought so, yeah.
I thought it was interesting, lads. The Sunday game put up 2 clips in pretty much successive weeks. Maybe it was over a 3-week period. The GEA Go debate went up in the full 10 minutes, and they put up the 3 minutes of the back and forth between Joanne and Donal Logue. So I think they know it's box office as well.
On a separate point, I didn't see the rest of the coverage, so I don't know what relations were like, but I saw the clip and I thought, I didn't see that part and then saw it afterwards, but didn't realise they made a reference to Daly or something, said something, it was kind of like an unsure point, I suppose, and Joanne jumped in and said, you'd want to be getting your facts right on this show. Okay.
And Donal Logue started breaking his arse laughing. There was now at first you couldn't I didn't know what was going on because I hadn't seen the clip initially, but you'd feel okay about that, having seen that part. This was maybe at half-time in the Clare match or in between the games.
It's like the great kind of gift to Bill, for instance, was that they could say, Bill, you're an idiot, you don't understand anything, and he'd chuckle, and there was no lingering.
Exactly, yeah.
Can't have that.
So no, she actually handled that bit brilliantly.
What about the point, which is maybe the core of the email, Tailteann Cup coverage? Everyone said, isn't it great? And like there's hammerings left, right and centre there as well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, I think the Tailteann Cup is going to be it's like the League Cup, like what happens now in the Tailteann Cup isn't important, but if Meath and Cavan go to a final, and it'll mean something once you're there, and the silverware I think will matter, and I think ultimately it is good that we have that competition. I never understand the obsession with coverage. You know, like especially when we still have the provincial championships at the moment and everybody's technically in the All-Ireland from the start. I never understand the obsession with coverage. Coverage doesn't matter. It should be important to the teams and counties involved. Or it's not, you know, but like, I mean, that's what we have to strive for. The idea that suddenly we have to do an hour talking about the ins and outs of Tailteann Cup games that we haven't seen, I just think it's a ludicrous proposition, and it's never going to happen. The one thing I would just slightly argue with, and this is coming from, like, I'm, you know, predominantly a hurling person, that would be my passion in the GAA, though I also love Gaelic football. I do feel like Gaelic football does get a bit of a raw deal when the Tailteann Cup is always compared to the John McDonagh and the Christy Ring, in that there's an awful lot of counties that are in the Tailteann Cup where their first preference in that county for GAA is football. And this is, so Leitrim, for example, are playing in the Tailteann Cup. That is their predominant, that is their GAA county team that are playing in that, whereas that's not the case in any of the lower tier hurling competitions, except for with the exception of maybe Offaly, you know, maybe Carlow, you could say, but I would say probably none of them really.
I think most teams, you know, fire genuine dual count.
It's not to say they don't matter, it's not to say they shouldn't get coverage, but I'm just saying that, like, there is a slight difference there in that, like, if you're not getting coverage in the Tailteann Cup for those counties, then you're getting no GAA coverage whatsoever, whereas, like, you know, Kerry and Meath and so on can survive without the hurling coverage.
Yeah, I think to be fair to the coverage at the end of the Tailteann Cup last year, RT did something very clever from the semi-finals on where they were broadcasting them. They got players from the counties who were involved in the Tailteann Cup who would have played against or seen the players, and I thought as a result the analysis was really good on it. I think what tends to happen is if it's just a snippet that's shown on the Sunday game, understandably you've got maybe two ex-players who've been watching primarily the provincial or the All-Ireland knockout games, and therefore they're not going to know a huge amount about the teams involved. These teams are not screened during the league either, so you can hardly expect them to know a whole lot outside of a few platitudes, and that's where sometimes they get you that kind of pat on the head attitude about it, as opposed to being able to go into
you have to say something, and so it comes out as a good on him. But
when Westmeath won it last year, like, we had the manager and we had John Heslin on the Monday night, and we had a great chat with them, and it was really, really you know, entertaining but also kind of informative conversation, and there was great scenes in Westmeath when they went home, and it mattered, you know, and that's all we need, I think, from a national perspective, is to show that this, once you get to that point, we don't need to be like, it's not that we don't need to be worried about it, but there's a lot of sport to cover, and the group stages of the Tailteann Cup are never going to get prominence, and people just have to accept that. It's nothing to do with you know, people picking and choosing. You pick the top level of the sport. That's just what we do. It's across all sports,
and there's even in the print journalists, there is a finite amount of reporters that can go around to games, so you're going to end up with the roundup coverage for the best part. But I noticed over the last few weeks the first two rounds of the Tailteann Cup actually got quite a bit of newspaper coverage, so at least there's stringers sending in reports and all them. One
of the issues is that Donal, and I don't think he's articulated well at all, right? But, and again, it comes back to, like, the GAA Go debate that we're not going to go back down to again, but the TV deal, everyone keeps saying we have more TV coverage than ever before, right? The TV deal is for the third time in a row. So the third package in a row has 31 free-to-air games on RT, right? That includes an extended football championship, an extended hurling championship the first time. That was when the number went up, right? And then an extended football championship plus the Tailteann Cup games and the Joe McDonagh final. You know, so it's like you are actually seeing less of the main championships because of the Tailteann Cup. Now, it's only a game or two, but the original sin here was not bumping RT's number. When you've bumped your championship, but you kept the number the same twice. Like, I feel it's so underreported, lads.
Yeah, like, I'm all for the games being on, by the way. I think the Tailteann Cup semi-finals final, Joe McDonagh being on RT is great, but it's 4 games that are now ring-fenced, and then you take the 6 provincial finals into account as well. That's a lot of games before RT ever make a pick on what else they're going to show.
From 31, Emmett in Dublin, this from a few weeks ago, to be fair, but it made the cut all the same. I am both fascinated and infuriated by the Martin Tyler hates my club nonsense that has been all over social media the last few years. I've long thought that Martin Keown delete. But his TalkSport rant about Tyler was pathetic, even by his own. Delete. I wrote a piece on the Tyler conspiracy stuff a few months ago. Link below. You did include the link. In looking it up, I found reports of Tyler being abused by fans of Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester City, Manchester United and Spurs due to various alleged biases in the last few years. Apparently, he hates them all. Not only is it completely stupid, but it shows a total lack of understanding of what good commentary is, and it doesn't take into the fact that he is 77 and understandably just on the decline as a broadcaster. Bloody yeah. It's drive-by on everybody here.
77. That's impressive that Martin Tyler's doing what he's doing.
Still brilliant, I think. Like any good conspiracy theory, it latches on to a nugget of evidence and ignores all the contradictory evidence that proves the idea makes no sense. And when enough people start saying the same thing, it gathers momentum from there. Social media has obviously been a huge factor in making football fans even more tribal and irrational. But I wonder, is there any link between this kind of paranoia and the style of cheerleader punditry that Sky has been driving recently with Neville, Carragher, Richards, etc.? Would like to hear your thoughts on it. All the best, Emmett and Dublin. I mean, the Tyler thing's just very simple. He just doesn't get excited anymore when a goal happens. That's all it is.
Yeah. The side-by-side stuff are very funny because I've only ever really heard this from Liverpool.
You mean the guy impersonating him? Like miming his
No, you know the one where
a
they'll have like, you know, a goal that's like Liverpool score in the 89th minute with this exact context, and here's the Manchester United goal in the exact same context, and he's like, versus like, oh, United will be disappointed with that Firmino goal, you know. But like there are obviously clips of that, but I've always found Liverpool fan in particular, this is what I've seen, it's interesting that he says all the other clubs feel the same way, but the Liverpool fans' obsession with this is unbelievable. And I always used to laugh at it, and then I would talk to, like, you know, normal-minded Liverpool fans, the type of people you have a conversation with to slag the nutters.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh no, but that is true though.
Okay.
You know, and they're like, hold on, no it's not. No it's not. You're complete. This is the conspiracy theory you've decided to go on, that Martin Tyler hates Liverpool, because it's crazy. It's so funny.
Why would it matter?
Well, yeah.
Not the referee. But I suppose if you're listening to someone you think hates your team for 90 minutes, that would get in on you.
But if you're like, this is the Sky experience, if you're not a Manchester United or Liverpool fan, is that you will watch that team play as a second fiddle team to Manchester United or Liverpool. That's the way it is, you know. They have
I'm with
two
you, Joe.
teams
I'm more
that matter.
familiar with the TikTok guy who puts his I look slightly depressed while Martin Tyler commentary. Can't think of his name.
It's so good. It's like, oh, and
Older.
Firmino's finished that one. He's miming like this, and it really works, you know. European team, obviously, like from Clive in Tilsley in 99 to even now, you know, expectingly, hopefully, oh no, VAR's given that, the goal's been given, that kind of stuff. It is good. I've never once listened to a commentator and thought he's biased. Like, I've thought the English commentators with the European team are supporting the European team, obviously, like from Clive in Tilsley in 99 to even now the BT Sport commentary.
Oh, they're openly supporting Man City.
Come on, England.
Yeah. I found Steve McManaman, who played for Man City for a little while, but also won two European Cups with Real Madrid. His bias towards Man City, I was really surprised with. Like, it was really strong. It was supportive, you know. But look, fair enough. Like, I mean, they are talking to an English audience. Like,
it's quite impressive. I never would listen. Now, I've never even had this thought before, but like, I've never listened to Dave McIntyre or Darren Maloney like commentating on Dublin winning a football All-Ireland and thought, lads.
No. The only time Dave ever let it go was the time he was commentating on a Premier League match, and we went back to studio, and Ger said that Diarmuid Connolly had been sent off in the All-Ireland semi-final, and Dave's mic was still up, and he got, Jesus Christ!
I remember that, yeah. He was at a Premier League game just hearing.
He was in like Old Trafford or somewhere.
Yeah.
I saw Tilsley being interviewed about this, and he worked in Liverpool for quite a while, and so
he was at Hillsborough, I remember.
Yeah, and Tilsley's natural inclination is towards Manchester United. It's obviously 1999.
To be fair, I knew he supported United the way he commentated on them.
Yeah. But
they always score.
But then he kind of said that, like, he worked on Everton and Liverpool matches for so long. Yeah. There was almost like he was hiding any bias he would have had towards Manchester United. That he's basically the model pro. He's the guy who goes on air and leaves all that behind. To the point that, you know, he admits he obviously enjoyed 99 a little bit, but he said at that point it was just about broadcasting on the game.
Do you know what's really interesting? I was at the Leinster game at the weekend, and I just realised, like, I don't know why I've done this to myself, but like, the supporter in me's gone and everything.
No feeling.
Is it, yeah?
So I remember in 09 and 11 and 12 it being big and loving that team and supporting that team. Whereas now I was just watching that game, even being at the stadium.
Analytically.
Totally. And like, people next to me, like, standing up for the 3 Leinster try. Like by try 3, they were like, what is happening? Yeah. Everyone's mind blowing, and I'm kind of like,
There's something
looking
sad
around.
about that, I think.
Oh, it did occur to me. I was like,
you lose
geez,
something from
I
your
definitely
love of sport. Yeah.
And it's not like, look at me, what a true journalist. It wasn't a conscious decision. But I just noticed, I was like, I'm only just kind of watching this dispassionately in a, I told him it is on Monday kind of a way.
Were you thinking about what you're going to ask Bod as opposed
Yeah,
to
a bit of that. Yeah, a bit of that.
But can I just say, like Martin Tyler is commentating on, because he does every country in the world, it seems to me as well. He's probably commentating on 4 football games a week for his entire life, right? For the last 55 years.
Yeah.
The idea that he cares.
That's not even an exaggeration.
No, it isn't. But what I'm trying to say actually is that I am so far removed in that, like, I could still be a supporter or whatever like that. But what people don't realise is when you're working, and I mean behind the scenes, I'm not even like what you're doing in terms of like anchoring, the rugby coverage or whatever like that. I mean behind the scenes, when you are actually working, you don't feel the same way. You just don't. The idea that I would bring any of the same biases to a match I was working at that I would have sitting at home or being in the stands with my friends or whatever. It just naturally doesn't happen because you have a job to do, and it's too dispassionate. And I find that, and that's me in a role that doesn't even matter and that I don't have to do that. Martin Tyler does not care about which one of those teams win or lose, and I would be so sure of that. I would put my mortgage on it.
Do you, Arthur, like the Martin Tyler I'm not going to lose my mind over every goal style? Because that is his defining style now in some ways, is that he rarely gets too up or too down in his commentary, which I don't think is the modern style anymore.
Do you reckon that's influenced by VAR though? I find that now I'm thinking every single goal. I still think about it every single goal that goes in.
I do feel it predates VAR. Like I remember if Fernando Torres' first goal for Chelsea somehow always stuck in my mind because it was like a moment, and it was like he tucked, and it's into Torres, and it's high class Torres as he scored. And I remember thinking, so that would have been 08 territory, I think.
Didn't Aguero happen after that? The most iconic piece of commentary in Premier League history.
Yeah, so I mean he has the good sense. I mean, so I'm saying he doesn't get up for every goal.
Yeah,
which I quite like.
He does hold a fairly unique position, being so prominent in such a juggernaut. Like, you do associate him with every big game that's on.
It's kind of remarkable that he's maintained that position for 30 odd years on Sky alone.
I'm sure they're as ruthless as any media company,
Yeah.
Graham Souness is 70. They didn't renew his contract, he told us.
Yeah, but who's come true to take his mantle in that time? Like, he is still the big game commentator, no doubt about it.
Yeah. We're out of time. We didn't even get to all the emails we intended to this evening, so that was a slight tangent. Will, Mick and Arthur, thank you very much. We'll do this again soon.
Off the ball on News Talk.